Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to break down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, December the 30th. We just got a 6-game slate for Wednesday, but we're going to break down this slate like we always do, position by position, go point guard through center, talk about all the guys that I'm interested in at each position. As always, this will be a first look, kind of my early thoughts on the slate, what I'm thinking as of Tuesday night when I'm recording this video. We'll take a look at DraftKings pricing. We'll hit on guys I like there. Also, we'll talk about guys I like over on Yahoo as well. But before we do get started with the video, please hit that like button down below. I do always appreciate the likes. Hit the subscribe button as well if you are new here. We are getting very close to 21,000 subscribers. By the time you're watching this video, we'll probably have already hit that milestone. So can't thank you guys enough. All of those of you that have come to the channel, that support the videos, that like, that subscribe. I do greatly appreciate it, guys. I'm able to do this for a living, and it's all because of you guys watching my videos. I can't thank you enough again. So big milestone, 21,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Wednesday's 6-game slate. Kind of a smaller slate for a Wednesday. Normally on Wednesdays we have like 9, 10 games like we have on Tuesday, but 6 games today. Starting off at point guard, you got Luka Doncic as the most expensive option in the position, or at the position, followed by Damian Lillard at $10K, and then you got LeBron, Trae Young, Kyrie Irving. So starting off with Luka, I think Luka is definitely in play on the slate, and I don't mind him at all as a pay-up option. He's kind of been disappointing to start the season. Without Kristaps Porzingis, I thought we were just going to have, monster games from Luka. Some of that's kind of been due to blowout. I mean, the game against the Lakers, they lost that game by 23 points. Luka still played 34 minutes, but the game against the Clippers, they won that game by like 50 points. I mean, I don't know if I've seen the Clippers play that bad in quite some time, but Luka only played 26 minutes in that game. He was really good in limited time with 48 DraftKings points. We still haven't gotten that big Luka game yet, but this is a guy that's just going to get a ton of usage. Without Kristaps Porzingis, the usage is going to be there for Luka. He's going to see a bump in his usage rate, his assist percentage, his rebounding numbers actually see a little bit of a spike as well with Porzingis off the floor. Really, taking a high-usage player like Porzingis off is just going to benefit Luka in the long run. And, the minutes are going to be there. I'm not worried about the matchup against the Hornets. I mean, the Hornets are not a good defensive team at all. They're not going to slow down Luka Doncic. At 10,700, he is the second most expensive player on the slate, right behind Giannis at 10,800. I think right now I do slightly prefer Giannis. I know Giannis hasn't been great either to start the year. He's had some disappointing games. He wasn't very good Tuesday night against the Heat. They're playing again on Wednesday, but a lot of that had to do with blowout. Like Giannis only played, I think, 24 or 25 minutes on Tuesday night. Even though it's a back-to-back, I'm not too worried about that, given they're not going to have to travel. I don't think. Pretty sure this game was played in Miami on Tuesday night, so they won't have to travel again. I'm not really worried about that with Giannis. So right now I prefer Giannis over Luka. If I have to pick between like Luka or Lillard or LeBron, I definitely prefer Luka over those guys. Not really interested in Lillard at 10K. I think there's just other guys I'd rather go to. LeBron is questionable, so that is something we're going to need to watch. He was questionable on, I think it was Monday against Portland when they played, and he wound up playing. He played 36 minutes, was not limited at all. My best guess is that LeBron plays here, so I'm just going to assume that he does. Obviously, if he's out, if we get that news sometime on Wednesday before lock, then, we'll make adjustments then. But for now, I'm going to assume LeBron plays. At 9,800, not really going to go there at that price point on the slate. I think I'd just rather get up to Luka if I can. Now, Trae Young, I do have a lot of interest in. I like this game, this Atlanta-Brooklyn game. I think this is probably going to be the highest scoring game on the slate. Right now, I believe it does have the highest total. Has a 240 total with Brooklyn favored by 6.5. Like, this is going to be a game that we want to get exposure to. Brooklyn's a really good defensive team, but they do play fast. The Hawks are going to be a fast-paced team as well. This game's just going to have a ton of points scored. As long as it can stay close, the upside for Trae Young here is through the roof, in my opinion. We know in close games he's going to play 34, 35, possibly 36 minutes. He's got 50, 60-point upside pretty much any night, and especially in a great game environment like this one. So I really like Trae Young at 9,600. Him and Luka, if I have to pay up at point guard, are probably the two guys I'm interested in the most. Kyrie Irving I like as well on the other side of that game. I think if I can find the salary to get up to Trae Young, I do prefer Trae, but Kyrie's definitely in play. The price tag came down a little bit. Obviously, with Kevin Durant now back, Kevin Durant sat out their last game. Kyrie also sat out. Both those guys are expected to play today. with Kevin Durant healthy, obviously Kyrie's not going to be nearly as high usage of a player when he's playing alongside KD, but in their 3 games this season, he's played with KD in all those games, and he's been pretty productive. Outside of 2 of them, the Golden State one, that was really a blowout. He only played 25 minutes. The Charlotte game, he didn't have the best game overall, but we saw against Boston on Christmas Day. Kyrie still has 60-point upside anytime he steps on the floor. A matchup against the Hawks is about as good as it gets, So definitely have interest in Kyrie. The top point guards for me are definitely Luka, Trae Young, and Kyrie Irving. Those are the 3 guys I do like the most at the top of the position. Jimmy Butler is a key injury that we'll have to watch as well. So he did not play on Tuesday. We don't know yet his status for Wednesday's game. My best guess is that he probably plays, but this will be something to monitor. If he does wind up out, I know Goran Dragic was a huge disappointment on Tuesday night. He just tanked so many of my lineups, but I'm going to go right back to Goran Dragic on Wednesday if Butler is out again. Dragic's price came down. He's $5,500. We'll talk about him in a second, but I'm going to like him once again if Butler does not play. Now, Karis LeVert was the chalk play on the last slate, smash play, played 38 minutes, had 60 DK points. With Kyrie, Dinwiddie, with Kevin Durant, all those guys out against Memphis, it was just clear that Karis LeVert was going to be a usage monster. He was going to play big minutes as long as the game stayed close, and he did that, 60 DK points in 38 minutes. Obviously, with Kevin Durant and Kyrie now back, I don't think we need to go to Karis LeVert. Even with Dinwiddie out, there's a chance that Karis LeVert starts here with Dinwiddie out for the season. There's a chance Karis LeVert just starts the rest of the year in place of Dinwiddie, but at $6,900, that's an expensive price tag to pay for Karis LeVert playing alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Not really going to look to him. There's really not much that stands out in the 6K range. I don't mind Drew Holiday at $6,400. If you want to go to him, I think he maybe a little bit underpriced. Dennis Schroeder at $6,200, I don't mind either. Obviously, if LeBron were to sit, that would definitely be a big bump for Schroeder, but for right now, I am going to assume that LeBron plays. Dejounte Murray is a guy I always have interest in, just a very high upside player. He was disappointing in a good matchup last time out against the Pelicans, but this is a guy that can drop 35, 40 DK points any night. His minutes seem to be consistent right now. Pop is giving him 30 to 32 minutes a night. While Derek White remains out, the minutes should be there for Dejounte Murray, and this is a productive player, a guy that's going to average over a fantasy point per minute when he's on the floor. At $6,100, there's still plenty of upside for him at this price point, so I do have interest in Dejounte Murray, but the 2 Miami guys, once again, Goran Dragic and Tyler Hero. If Jimmy Butler is out again, I will be going right back to Dragic and Hero. I know they were really, or at least Dragic was, I know he was really disappointing on Tuesday's slate, but this is still a guy that is incredibly productive when he's on the floor. He only played 9 minutes. It was a blowout. They lost by 40 points. I wouldn't be worried about the back-to-back here. I know Dragic is an older guy, but given that he only played 9 minutes on Tuesday, I'm going to assume that he's going to be full go here. If Jimmy Butler's out, I love Goran Dragic once again at $5,500. Hopefully people will be scared to go to him because he disappointed on Tuesday. This is still a guy that can drop 40 DK points any night, and if Butler sits, there's going to be more usage, more opportunity for Dragic. I'll be right back on him if Butler sits, but obviously, we don't have that news right now, so I'm not going to plug in Dragic yet. Same with Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero actually played really well Tuesday night. He was one of the bright spots for Miami. I think he finished with over 30 DK points, if not more than that. He did play really well. He's $5,400. If Jimmy Butler's out again, I definitely like going right back to Tyler Hero. But in that 5K range, Tyus Jones is the one guy that stands out right now. $5,200 on DK, only $10 on Yahoo, so he's actually coming in at minimum salary on Yahoo. He looks like one of the clear value plays over there right now at $10. So John Morant did get injured in the Grizzlies' most recent game, and I believe he's going to be out for, I think, a couple of weeks, if not a month or two. I'm not exactly sure, but Tyus Jones is going to be the starting point guard for Memphis while John Morant is out. And Tyus Jones is a guy that can be productive when he gets minutes. He played 35 minutes in the Brooklyn game. He was obviously Morant's backup in that game, and when Morant got hurt, it was Jones who replaced him. Played 35 minutes, had 24 Draftkings points. This isn't a guy that's going to go out there and put up 50 DK points or nothing, but he's going to start, probably play 32 to 34 minutes, can definitely give you close to 30 DK points, and at $5,200, especially because this slate is kind of lacking value right now, there's not a ton of great cheap options that stand out. I think we're going to want to try and look to the 5K range, at least for kind of our cheaper plays, and Tyus Jones at $5,200 I do like with John Morant now out. His price tag obviously came up. DraftKings did do a good job of pricing him up, But still, I think there is some upside for him at this price tag. Maybe if some better value opens up, we could look elsewhere. But for now, I'll definitely be looking at Tyus Jones on DraftKings. Now on Yahoo, where he's $10, he's going to be one of the top value plays over there, regardless of what value opens up. Tyus Jones already stands out as a top value on Yahoo. But that's kind of it at point guard. There's not a ton of cheap plays that stand out below 5K. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo, I don't mind. He's going to start, probably play mid to high 20s in minutes. Could give you 25, 30 DK points. At 4,900, he's not the worst option. Bogdan Bogdanovic does give you some upside at 4,800. His minutes, it's going to be tough to tell what his minutes are going to be like. Rajon Rondo is back for the Hawks. He did make his debut in their last game, so that's definitely going to, kind of throw a wrench into some things. But last 3 games, he's played 25, 32, 30 minutes. My best guess is we get it probably 26 to 28 minutes from Bogdanovic. Great game environment, fast-paced game against the Nets. He has upside to definitely pay off a $4,800 salary, so I do like him as sort of a cheaper play. He is the one guy under 5K that I could see going to. Really, there's no one else, though, under 5K that stands out, at least not, as of Tuesday night when I'm making this video. So let's go ahead and talk about the shooting guard position now. So at the top here, we got Paul George for $8,500. I think Paul George, for me, is going to depend on what happens with Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi Leonard actually sat out Tuesday, which was kind of surprising. I was expecting Kawhi to play, and he wound up being out. So if he's out again, we can definitely look to Paul George. Obviously, Paul George greatly benefits when Kawhi Leonard is off the floor. Just gets way more usage. The ball's going to be in his hands way more. He's just going to have to do more offensively. I wouldn't mind paying up for him at all. He would become a really good option at the top of the shooting guard position if Kawhi does not play again. But once again, that's news we don't have right now. So I don't want to plug in Paul George right now just because we don't have that news yet. Other shooting guards, though, Jaylen Brown I do like quite a bit at 7,300. I think he is definitely underpriced for this matchup against Memphis. This is a good spot for Boston against this Memphis team. Memphis does play really fast. Losing Ja Morant, maybe they don't play as fast, but still, I do expect Memphis to be, probably a top 10 team in pace once again this season. The price tag came down a little bit on Jaylen Brown, and without Kemba Walker while he's still out, Gordon Hayward's no longer on the team. The offense is going to run through Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, at least while Kemba is out, and we've seen the kind of upside that Jaylen Brown has. 50-point upside, 45, 50 points is definitely in his range of outcomes. We know the minutes are going to be there. He's going to play big minutes as long as the game is competitive. At 7,300, especially because I like so many guys from Memphis, it doesn't, it makes sense to kind of run back with some Boston guys if you are kind of looking to do like a mini game stack. I'll probably have some lineups with 2 or 3 guys from Memphis today because, there's some clear beneficiaries that we want to target from Memphis now that Ja Morant is out. So I do like Jaylen Brown at 7,300. Scrolling down, Dillon Brooks is one of those guys that benefits with Ja Morant out. Does see a nice bump in usage. He's just going to have to do more offensively with Morant off the floor. Obviously, Morant is one of the top scorers for the Grizzlies, so somebody else is going to have to step up, and I do expect Dillon Brooks to be one of those guys that benefits. He did play really well in their last game against Brooklyn after Morant went down. Took 19 shots, shot 47% from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. Had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, also had 3 steals. Finished with 43 DK points. 6,200, that's kind of a lot to pay for Dillon Brooks, but the upside is definitely there with Ja Morant out. On Yahoo, I think that's where Dillon Brooks looks a lot better because he's a lot cheaper over there. He's coming in at $22. He's the same price as Marcus Smart, only $1 more than Bogdanovic, only $1 more than Tyler Hero. I definitely like Dillon Brooks on Yahoo at $22. I think he looks like one of the better shooting guard plays just overall. Now, obviously, if Kawhi Leonard winds up out, then Paul George at $33 will be a guy we definitely want to try and get in. But for now, I'm fine plugging in Brooks at $22. He does greatly benefit with Ja Morant now out, and he's someone that I'm going to be looking to on the slate, more so on Yahoo where he's affordable. On DraftKings where he's $6,200, doesn't stand out as much at that price, but still has 35, 40-point upside, and, we saw that last game against Brooklyn, so I do like him in the 6K range. Keldon Johnson is someone I do want to talk about, so I like him quite a bit on both sides. 5,700 on DK, and he's at small forward on Yahoo, but he's coming in at a pretty cheap price tag over there, only $19. So Keldon Johnson has been starting for the Spurs so far. I'm pretty sure instead of starting with Derek White out, instead of the way their starting lineup is, I think Keldon Johnson would not be starting if White was playing. I think. Or maybe it would be Lonnie Walker that went to the bench if White was playing. But either way, Keldon Johnson is going to be starting for the Spurs this year. It looks like, at least as of now. and he's been really good in the starting lineup. He's been playing consistent minutes, 32, 28, 31 minutes through their 3 games. Been productive as well, 32, 26, 42 DraftKings points. This is seemingly a guy that, can be productive when he gets minutes. I don't know too much about Keldon Johnson, but he's been good so far this year. He was pretty productive last year, if I remember. Coming off the bench when he would get playing time, he would be productive in his playing time. So getting a guy at 5,700 that's probably going to play 30, 32 minutes, if not more, can average a fantasy point per minute, if not more. Like, there's definitely 35, 40 point upside for Keldon Johnson. At 5,700, the price tag is starting to come up, so, he's not a standout option by any means, but just given the lack of, cheap plays we have on the slate, at least as of now, I think some of these guys in the 5K range really stand out, and Keldon Johnson is one guy that I do like quite a bit on both sides, especially on Yahoo, where he's small forward, which is usually a gross position. I do like him quite a bit over there at only $19. I think he's a little bit too cheap over on Yahoo, but other shooting guard plays. Talked about Tyler Hero. Obviously, if Jimmy Butler's out again, Tyler Hero would be a guy we could look to. Josh Richardson is questionable, so that is one injury we're going to have to watch. I'm not really sure who would start if Richardson were to be out. Maybe they would start. I don't know who they would start if Richardson's out, but depending on what happens with Josh Richardson, if he does wind up out, whoever starts for him could be a guy worth considering for value. I'm sure they're all really cheap, so that'll be something we need to monitor. Tim Hardaway Jr., Luka Doncic obviously would see a little bit more usage, a little bit more opportunity as well if Richardson were to be out for this game. Lou Williams would benefit as well if Kawhi Leonard's out again, so 5,200 we could definitely consider Lou Will if Kawhi's out. But yeah, I think that's probably it for shooting guard. Like Bogdanovich we talked about. Duncan Robinson, don't mind if Jimmy Butler's out again. If Kawhi's out, you could play Luke Kennard as well, who started in place of Kawhi on Tuesday. I would assume that if Kawhi's out again, Luke Kennard would get the start once again. Lonnie Walker is one guy we can mention. He's not the worst option for 4,400. He's starting right now at shooting guard for the Spurs while Derek White's out. And he's getting pretty solid minutes, 34, 25, 34 minutes through 3 games. Been somewhat productive with 31, 22, and 24 DraftKings points. If he's going to continue to start and play, 32, 34 minutes against the Lakers, not the best matchup overall, but for 4,400, definitely have interest in Lonnie Walker as sort of a cheaper shooting guard option. The value right now isn't great, so these guys that project for 5X are probably going to be guys worth considering because I don't think there's any smash values, at least, not as of Tuesday night when I'm making this video. Not really much stands out, but let's go ahead and move on to the small forward position. We will talk about small forward now. So at the top here, you do have LeBron, who we mentioned. Kawhi Leonard at 9,300. We don't know his status yet. He sat out Tuesday night. We'll have to see what happens Wednesday. Even if Kawhi plays, I don't think he's going to be a top pay-up option for me. I think there will be other ways I'd look to go, rather pay up for Giannis, rather pay up for Luka. I prefer Trae Young in that price range. I prefer Kyrie Irving for a little bit cheaper. Even a guy like Kevin Durant is coming in at 8,600 or 8,400. So I'd probably rather go to Kevin Durant as well in a great matchup against the Hawks. Don't really see myself going to Kawhi. Jason Tatum, I don't mind at 8,600, but I think just straight up, I would give the slight edge to Kevin Durant. I think I like the matchup a little bit more for Kevin Durant, but you could definitely go to Tatum here against Memphis. The dude's just going to be productive when he's on the floor. He's going to play big minutes. Like I said earlier, without Kemba, with Hayward no longer on the team, the offense for the Celtics, it's running through Jason Tatum, it's running through Jaylen Brown, and we've seen both those guys be very productive so far this year with the Celtics. There's plenty of upside for Tatum at an $8,600 salary. We saw last year this guy was priced close to $10K, especially during the postseason when he was really taking over. We are getting him still at a little bit of a discount. So Tatum, you could look to. Jaylen Brown, we talked about, I like as well at 7,300. Dylan Brooks, we mentioned, you could go to at 6,200. DeMar DeRozan does feel a little bit too cheap at 6,900. He's had 2 really good games this year, and then he was really disappointing in their last game against the Pelicans. But, this is a guy that when he's on the floor, he's going to be productive. We know DeMar DeRozan is going to be one of the top scoring options for the Spurs. We know he's going to play big minutes as long as the game stays close. He does feel way too cheap today. He should probably be 7,500, close to 8K. Really doesn't make sense that DeRozan's only 6,900 after having just, one bad game. I wouldn't expect that to continue here. I would expect DeRozan to bounce back in a pretty big way. I do like him quite a bit on DraftKings at that price point. I think he is definitely underpriced here. Kyle Anderson, I think, benefits as well without John Morant. At 6K, That's kind of a lot to pay for a guy like Kyle Anderson. Normally I wouldn't pay $6K for him, but, he's been really good this year. He has 2 games over 40 DraftKings points. He's shown that he can be productive. He's been playing big minutes as well. I mean, he's not out of play. I think there are other guys I'd rather go to, though. Like, I'd feel better about Dylan Brooks. If I can get up to DeMar DeRozan, I'd rather play DeMar DeRozan. But Kyle Anderson will at least be in my player pool for sure because, I normally play about 10 to 20 lineups, and I think I will have Anderson in my player pool. But don't really know if he's going to be like a core guy for me. Not going to be a guy I have a ton of exposure to just at that $6K price tag. But, yeah, that kind of does it. I mean, there's not much else that stands out at small forward. I guess if Kawhi's out, you could maybe go to Nicholas Batum or Kennard like we talked about. But, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the power forward position. We'll hit on power forward now. So, at the top here, you do have Giannis for 9,800, who is a guy that I like a ton on the slate. I know he was disappointing on Tuesday night, but I think a lot of that had to do with the blowout. Only played, 24, 25 minutes, just didn't get his full run because the Bucks, won that game by like 40 points. I'm going to be going right back to Giannis today. He's once again one of my favorite guys to target on the slate. I just think he's too cheap in my opinion. Like, Giannis should be 11K, over 11K. He should be like close to 12K. I mean, this is a guy that basically gives you a 50-point floor. I know he's had some games this year under that, but both those games were massive blowouts. The game against the Warriors was a massive blowout. The game against the Heat on Tuesday night was a massive blowout. Those are the only 2 games where Giannis has scored less than 50 DK points this year. If he plays his full minutes, he's going to give you close to 50 DK points, if not way more than that. The guy just has such a high floor, such a high ceiling. He's so productive when he's on the floor. He can stuff the stat sheet, can just contribute in all categories. He's basically a lock for a double-double, and we know he can give you assists. We know he can get defensive stats as well. Against Miami, that's a tougher matchup, but I don't care when it comes to a guy like Giannis who is matchup-proof. I want him playing in games that I expect to be competitive, and while the Miami game was not competitive on Tuesday night, I wouldn't expect that to happen again here. I expect this game to be competitive, so I do like Giannis. He's my favorite pay-up option on both sites. I had a ton of interest in him on Tuesday night, and while that didn't work out in DFS, especially with NBA, you got to have a short memory, and I'm going to be going right back to Giannis on this slate. So he's a guy I have a lot of interest in at power forward. Anthony Davis at 9,700. He's been really disappointing this year, kind of to start the season in terms of fantasy. Like, he hasn't really had any big games. His best game this season was against Dallas on Christmas Day, where he had 50 DK points. Against the Clippers, he had 27. Last game out against Portland, he only had 35. I think Davis is going to be very low owned. So for that reason, he's a guy you could look to target in tournaments. But other than that, probably won't be going to Anthony Davis today unless by some chance LeBron gets ruled out. Then obviously Anthony Davis will become a much more appealing option. Kevin Durant, though, I do like a lot at power forward. I think KD is just a little bit too cheap today for this matchup against the Hawks. He should be probably 9K, if not more than that. I mean, he was 9,400 in their last game against the Hornets, and now he's 8,400. So his price dropped $1,000, and he gets a matchup today against the Hawks, which is one of the best possible spots you can get. This Hawks team is terrible defensively. They're going to be a fast-paced team once again this year. We talked about it earlier. This game has the highest total on the slate right now. It is going to be a game that we want to get exposure to, and Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, those will be the first 2 guys I look to get exposure to from the Nets side. I guess if I had to choose one, I think there's a lot of guys I like at point guard, so I guess Kevin Durant would probably be the guy I'd choose between him and Kyrie, but either way, I'm going to have a good amount of exposure to both. They're definitely the 2 guys I like most from Brooklyn, and KD's just too cheap, man. Even playing alongside Kyrie this year doesn't really seem like it's going to hurt his fantasy value too much. Seems like the guy's going to consistently put up 40 to 50 DK points on a nightly basis, and while we've yet to get like a true ceiling game from Kevin Durant, this is still a guy that can, get 60 DK points any night, can really just take over. So I do like him a lot at power forward. Like the matchup for John Collins, his price is coming down because he's been so disappointing this year. I think this is definitely a spot where we can buy low on John Collins just because I don't think really many people are going to look to go to him. Look, he's been bad, but this is still a guy that's going to play, probably 30, 32 minutes if the game stays close. He's been dealing with foul trouble a lot this year. I'm pretty sure he's been limited because of his fouls in every game so far this season. Like, if he's not in foul trouble, expect 30-plus minutes for Collins. He's a fantasy point-per-minute player. With Clint Capella on the team and as their starting center now, maybe Collins won't be as productive. Maybe his rebounding numbers won't be as good playing alongside Capella, but still, this is a very productive player, a pretty high-usage player. The offense is going to run through Collins and Young, so I do like John Collins at 7,100. I think this is definitely a spot where we can buy low on him. Talked about how DeRozan's underpriced. I do like him at 6,900. Scrolling down, though, looking like in the mid-range. I mean, not really much stands out, or not much else stands out at power forward, like in the mid-range. I mean, I think that's probably it for the position in terms of, like, mid-range options. I don't think I really see anything else. So let's go ahead and talk about center real quick before we do end the video. So at center, we've touched on Anthony Davis. We won't mention him. Joe Val at the top, I do like a lot on this slate. I like him a lot on both sides. 7,700 on DK. Looking at Yahoo's pricing, he's coming in at $29 over there, which I think is a very affordable price tag for Joe Val. Definitely going to be one of my higher owned centers on Yahoo. And like I said earlier, I have no problems playing 2 or 3 guys from the Grizzlies today, just because, you know, without Ja Morant, there's just so much usage to go around. I expect Valanciunas to benefit. Obviously, Tyus Jones is going to benefit. He's going to get way more minutes. He's going to just be involved in the offense more. He's still somewhat affordable. Dylan Brooks should benefit. Even Kyle Anderson should see a boost. I'm fine playing, 2 or 3 of those guys in the same lineup. And if you want to play someone on the Boston side to kind of do a game stack, I guess you could do that. But Joe Val I do like a lot at 7,700. Coming off a big game, last game against Brooklyn, he had 43 DK points in 39 minutes. It seems like, right now with Jaren Jackson Jr. still out, the Grizzlies are kind of locked in. They're confident in giving Joe Val big minutes on a nightly basis, which is something that, is kind of always – it's something that always has plagued him, I guess. Joe Val has always been a very productive player when he's on the floor, but it doesn't seem like he's ever getting big minutes. Like, they're never playing him 34, 35 minutes. Well, he got 39 minutes in an overtime game last game. Seems like if the game stays close here, he's probably going to play 30 to 32 minutes, if not a few more. Boston's a good defensive team, but down low, I think this is a team we can attack with opposing centers, especially with a guy like Joe Val that is just so productive when he's on the floor, always under the basket, pretty much is a lock for a double-double, can get you defensive stats as well. This is a guy that has 50, 60-point upside. Like, we've seen Joe Val go out there and just break slates at sometimes. Like, he can drop 50 DK points any night. At 7,700, without Morant, Joe Val should see a little bit more usage, should get more opportunity, maybe even picks up a few more assists, and he's someone I have a lot of interest in at the center position. I do greatly prefer him over Bam Adebayo. Even if Jimmy Butler's out today, I don't think I'm going to go to Adebayo over Valanciunas. I do prefer Valanciunas over Bam, even if Jimmy Butler's out. Obviously, if Butler's out again, that benefits Bam, but I think I just prefer to go to Joe Val. John Collins, we talked about, you could look to. Yusuf Nurkic feels too cheap at 6,700, but he really hasn't done much to start the season. He hasn't been that great, just 22, 36, and 33 DK points through 3 games. I mean, he's still getting the minutes. Like, he should still play close to 30 minutes if the game stays close. Nurkic is always a guy that has massive upside. He's another guy that can just go out there and break a slate, but it seems like he's not. I don't know what's up with him right now, but it doesn't seem like he's as productive this year as he was last year, at least not to start the season. That could turn around basically at any point, but Nurkic probably a guy I'm not going to have too much interest in, not going to have too much exposure to. I think I'd rather get up to like Joe Val if I can, or even John Collins if I can. Scrolling down, though, like LaMarcus Aldridge feels too cheap at 6,300, but he's just been so bad this year. It's hard to trust LMA right now. In the 5K range, not really much stands out, but going below 5K, if we're looking for value at center, there is one cheap option I do like. That's DeAndre Jordan, 4,600 on DK. Great matchup for DeAndre Jordan here against the Hawks. Such a favorable spot. I mean, the Hawks, we talked about it earlier, and I've said it multiple times in this video. They're just a bad defensive team. They struggle like defending bigs. I mean, they're not going to slow down a guy like DeAndre Jordan. He should be able to dominate on the glass against this Hawks team. It's going to be a fast-paced game, so that you're going to see a lot of shot attempts, which is going to be a lot of rebound opportunities for a guy like Jordan, and we know that's where he thrives. Like, he thrives on the glass. He can get you a double-double. I know DJ hasn't really had any big games this year. His best game out was last time against Memphis, where he had 28 DK points, but he did get 30 minutes in their most recent game against Memphis, which is definitely good to see. I know they had 2 blowouts in their first 2 games against the Warriors and against Boston. Against Charlotte, that was a close game, and DJ only played 19 minutes, which is somewhat concerning. But last game out against Memphis, he did play 30 minutes. My best guess is you see, probably 24, I would say probably 22, 24 minutes from DeAndre Jordan, then probably like 24, 26 from Jared Allen. given that Jordan is 4,600 and is coming in much cheaper than Jared Allen, I do actually like DeAndre Jordan for value, especially just with the minimal value that we have right now. Depending on what value opens up as the day goes on, maybe there will be other guys we can consider other than DeAndre Jordan, but he has 30-point upside here against this Hawks front court, and at 4,600, I do like that price tag on DJ. With the price coming down, he's someone that does interest me. He's still the starting center for the Nets, and with him starting, he's going to get at least 20 minutes if I had to guess. And with a guy like DJ that's so productive, can score, can rebound, can block shots, like he can get 30 DK points in 20 minutes, especially in this matchup. So I like him as a cheap option at center. Looking at the guys under 5K, I think he's probably my favorite overall out of all the cheap options that we have. But yeah, I think that's probably it for the center position, guys. I think we broke everything down for Wednesday's 6-game slate. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do greatly appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do really enjoy my videos, if they help you out a lot and you want to get more content from me, if you want to see more that I have to offer, I do have a Patreon link down below in the description. If that is something that does interest you, I do provide a lot of additional content over on Patreon, so you can check that out. You can see all that I do have to offer over there. But best of luck on this slate, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck, guys. Peace.